Coming up tonight on the news at 6. Voters approved legalizing recreational marijuana in Montana, and now local law enforcement officers are studying up on the newly passed initiatives. Plus, a Helena event that provides thousands of Thanksgiving meals is adjusting to COVID-19. What that looks like this year.
From Montana's news leader, this is MTN News at 6.
Good evening and welcome to the news at 6. I'm Marian Davidson. Thanks for joining us this evening. Well, it has been 2 days since voters approved 2 initiatives to legalize recreational marijuana in Montana. But as MTN's Annie Johnson tells us, it may take a lot longer until people can actually get it. After Tuesday's elections, Montana legalized the recreational use of marijuana, and so far people have already been trying to get their hands on it.
Yeah, us at Greener Pastures have had a few people call and come in, and we've had to explain to the law to them in the best of our ability.
A law that has a lot of moving parts. Yes, the initiatives were approved, but won't go into effect immediately.
I understand that it's approved, and that's fantastic. At the same time, it's going to take a little while for the state to implement it. And so far, nobody has come in and asked, but our business has been as busy as usual.
So when will changes go into effect? I-190 legalizes the use of having and using marijuana starting January 1st, 2021. But New Approach Montana says sales may start in February 2022. But a lot of the details depend on this upcoming legislature session.
A lot of people are still a little confused about how this law is affecting them. At Greener Pastures, we haven't seen a significant change so much. I think it's going to be really interesting what happens next year.
So no, you can't purchase marijuana for recreational use as of now, but when you can, there will be some key differences in medical versus recreational purchases.
The recreational 20% sales tax only pertains to the recreational patients. So a medical marijuana patient isn't going to pay the sales tax.
But this supporter says she hopes it all works out soon.
People like us will always have our door open for medical marijuana, and eventually we'll have our door open for recreational as well as soon as the law is figured out.
And right now, it's a waiting game.
So far, no communication thus far from the state on our end. The Department of Health, I believe it's kind of out of their jurisdiction at this point. We'll see what the lawmakers do in the legislative session.
Reporting in Bozeman, Annie Johnson, MTN News. Prosecutors and law enforcement in Butte are studying up on that newly passed recreational marijuana law, which will change the way they handle drug-related cases. The county attorney's office is meeting with police, health, and zoning officials to learn the guidelines once recreational marijuana use goes into effect. While possession charges are expected to drop, law enforcement could see increased issues in other areas, such as driving under the influence.
Maybe more focus on DRE, driving, offenses under the influence of marijuana as opposed to just alcohol. There may be more focus on having more drug recognition enforcement because it could increase the usage.
Butte officials will consult other states like Colorado that have already legalized recreational marijuana use. Well, tonight in presidential politics, Joe Biden has a comfortable lead over President Trump in the race for electoral college votes. But some of the state tabulation systems are sure to be questioned in court. Alice Barr has more from the White House.
As the battlegrounds finalize their vote counts, Democrat Joe Biden is gaining ground in a game of inches.
We have no doubt that when the count is finished, Senator Harris and I will be declared the winners. So I ask everyone to stay calm, all the people to stay calm. The process is working.
President Trump hoping to chisel his own path to victory, filing a flurry of lawsuits to stop the counting in Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Nevada, where Trump campaign officials spoke today.
Ballots are not automatically legal votes until they're checked. We are not being allowed to check.
The Trump team claiming fraud but offering zero evidence, and campaigns don't verify ballots, election officials do.
We are not aware of any improper ballots that are being processed.
Give us access!
But on both sides today, very serious concerns. Protesters gathering outside of Philadelphia Counting Center forced to pause its work this afternoon because of a legal challenge. The mail-in ballots being counted there have trended strongly for Biden, rapidly eroding the president's lead in Pennsylvania. On Twitter, President Trump demanding stop the count. Several other tweets claiming fraud were flagged as potentially misleading. The day began with a tightening race in Georgia, Biden closing the gap on the president's lead, and the opposite in Arizona, where Biden had a narrow edge. As the count ground on, tensions building in the streets, with America watching and waiting. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
For the second time, Montana reported more than 1,000 new COVID-19 cases in one day, with 1,013 new cases. That pushes the statewide total to more than 37,000 cases. Almost 12,000 of those are active cases. 5 more deaths have been reported since just this afternoon, meaning 443 Montanans have died from COVID-19 complications. Now, it's also important to keep in mind MTN numbers do vary from those reported by state officials, and that's because we track data from the state and local health departments to give you the most up-to-date information available. All right, now it's time for First Weather with Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz.
Well, I've got some good news here. Take a look at this. The high wind warning dropped here for the Rocky Mountain front. Wind speeds continue to come down, and the red flag warning for southwestern Montana also allowed to expire as the wind comes down along with the temperatures here. I had a little wildfire up there by Gates of the Mountains, and then also into Cascade County here, hay fire there. But boy, Montana enters kind of a secondary fire season in November. Mainly grass fires here, but when you've got dry ground and of course a lot of winds, we've got that possibility of some wildfires. But the ground will not be dry for long. On to the next. A winter storm watch has been issued now for pretty much all of northern Montana and all the way through the western and central part of the state. Yeah, it might look like that coming up this weekend. It's all downhill from here. Love that saying. Meaning maybe it's easier, maybe it's not easier. Well, the temperatures will be going downhill from here. It will be a bad blizzard at times for parts of the state this weekend, making for dangerous driving, maybe impassable roads. I'll have more on the weekend storm coming up.
All right, thanks for that, Curtis. And as Curtis mentioned, firefighters were on a wildfire east of I-15 by Gates of the Mountains. The Campbell fire was an estimated 20 acres this afternoon and is burning in a steep area with trees and dry grass, and that wind Curtis mentioned played a factor. Montana DNRC hotshots from the Helena National Forest, West Valley, East Valley, and Lewis and Clark County firefighters were on scene. A DNRC helicopter made regular bucket drops on the fire. Now, crews are optimistic that they will be able to get a handle on the fire by tomorrow morning, and at the moment, there are no structures threatened. Now, officials say they do not know what caused the fire. DNRC asks everyone to take extra care right now when dragging chains or starting a warming fire. Any fire pit should be cold to the touch before it is left. And there is another fire burning in Teton County. A fire on Broken O Ranch between Sims and Augusta was reported around 5:30 this morning. It started out as a hay fire. Firefighters estimate hundreds of tons of hay burned. Now, officials believe it started as ranch workers were chopping the hay. The fire jumped to a nearby ridge, but firefighters were able to contain it before it burned more land. Crews on scene say they expect the fire to burn for at least 24 hours. And still ahead on the news at 6, the Helena Food Share's annual Turkey Challenge will look a little different this year. What to expect coming up next.
News Leader. You're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the news at 6. Helena Food Share is keeping its Thanksgiving tradition alive and adapting the annual Turkey Challenge to the pandemic. MTN's Alexia Guayo has the story.
The Helena Food Share is getting ready for their annual Turkey Challenge, a challenge to raise money to provide families with Thanksgiving dinners. But the challenge will not be in person this year.
This year, of course, with the pandemic and COVID, we're not doing physical food drives. We're not actually asking people to collect food for us or turkeys. So on November 20th, we're going to do our Turkey Challenge virtually. We're going to do it online.
Online at helenafoodshare.org, FoodShare is asking to buy a meal as opposed to collect food items due to the pandemic. The Turkey Challenge went live this week and about 120 meals have already been purchased as of Thursday afternoon. The goal is to provide 2,500 meals.
There's going to be an increase in need because we've seen more new families coming in to Helena Food Share every week at a higher rate than previously. So we want to make sure that we have enough for everyone who might have that need.
Helena Food Share says they are giving out about 1,600 carts of food every month since the pandemic began. This is about a 41% increase compared to last year. Since March, Food Share have given out about 200,000 meals. They served about 150,000 meals in the entire year of 2019.
Helena Food Share will begin distribution of those turkey meals the following 3 days after the Turkey Challenge, the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of November. It is still not too late to sign up for Thanksgiving dinner if you need one. In Helena, I'm Alexi Guayo, MTN News.
All right, and you had good news for us earlier, Curtis. Do you have any more of that coming up?
If you're a snow fan, that's some good news. Oh yeah, we've got a lot of snow and a lot of wind. This is kind of a difficult winter storm because of the possibility of blizzard conditions. More on the full forecast in just a few minutes.
It's now with Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenens.
All right, welcome back everybody. Good Thursday evening to you all. Warm and windy throughout the state, almost 60 degrees still in Great Falls, but how about that? That's a nice number right there. West wind dying down to only about 8 miles per hour. Pretty sunset in Helena here earlier this evening, and it still is pretty warm, 69 degrees, and we had a new record high. Actually, just checked the record up to 76 degrees today. That is pretty hot for November here in Montana. A little cooler air, northwest Montana. That's a sign of things to come. 50s and 60s pretty much for the rest of the state. And the wind, the high wind warning expired here. It still is a little breezy in some areas, but that wind intensity is coming down. Some rain up in the northwest part of the state. It's going to stay up there here for another 24 to even 48 hours or so, but that's our storm that will be affecting us here this weekend. Let's take a look at the weekend and the rest of the work week. For tonight, a little rain East Glacier, a little rain up around Kalispell and Whitefish and Libby. Tomorrow, though, temperatures will drop enough that there will be a little mix of rain and snow around Shelby and Cup Bank and East Glacier and Browning and Babb and Hart Butte, St. Mary as well. But notice the snow stays up there around Sweetgrass Hills, picking up maybe a little snow as well. Sunburst, maybe some snow, but it will remain north of Great Falls all day on Friday. How about Friday night into Saturday morning? It actually lifts northward up into Canada here. Maybe a little snow returning again to around the Babb area as we get into Saturday afternoon. But 7:30 Saturday evening, where's the snow? Well, it's about to start for places like Great Falls and Helena. Watch this, right after 7:30, boom, there's that snow really increasing, and it will come down pretty heavily at times through the overnight into Sunday morning. Sunday, snow for Lewistown and Havre and Great Falls and Helena and Cup Bank, and the wind will start to increase through the afternoon and the evening. Look at this intense wind up here in eastern Montana, even central and northwestern parts of the state. I think around Helena we will have some wind, but it won't be quite as bad as the northeast areas here in the state. These conditions, you want to probably avoid traveling, especially after dark there on Sunday evening. Snowfall amounts a little bit tomorrow into the afternoon, East Glacier area, but it's Saturday night into Sunday morning that snow will really pile up. How much? Yeah, maybe about a foot around Helena here. Could have a little more in the mountains around town. Great Falls, we could push 18 inches in some areas, especially southern Cascade County. I know I've got the city list here, but this is for really the surrounding areas as well. Lewistown, Cup Bank, Glasgow, and Havre, that's where actually the snow could be the heaviest, plus a lot of drifting of that snow and the strong wind. Forecast for tonight, maybe a couple of flakes and drops up there around the Cup Bank area. Rest of the state, fairly mild. For tomorrow, Friday, looking at highs in the 50s and the 60s. And again, a little wet snow up around the East Glacier area. It stays up there until late on Saturday. That's when the cold front will come down. So you have most of the day on Saturday, unless you're traveling around East Glacier, where the conditions will be dry and it will be mild again, 40s to about 50 degrees. Look at that Sunday morning. Sunday afternoon and evening, some really nasty conditions with snow and wind, northeast Montana. Temperatures falling into the teens and 20s. Wind chills could be down below zero. And again, blizzard conditions likely here for northeast, north central Montana. Blizzard conditions at times around Great Falls, maybe even around the Helena area, certainly North Hills, maybe around the Silver City area. And then into Monday, the snow moving out. Cold air remains and winds will remain, and that will blow around the snow, keeping the travel conditions on the slippery side for Monday. After Monday, a couple of snow showers Tuesday and Wednesday, a light accumulation, but again, this weekend the weather really does deteriorate. Travel conditions as well Saturday night into Sunday. And for Great Falls, it's after dark Saturday that the snow begins. Really tough conditions to be outside or traveling on Sunday, and then some slow improvement on Monday.
All right, thanks for that, Curtis. Helena High and Helena Capital are going into the second week of the Class AA football playoffs. What you need to know ahead of the big games, coming up next.
As news leader, you're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the News at 6. Well, Helena High and Helena Capital football are getting ready to enter the second week of the Class AA playoffs. MTN's Sam Hoyle caught up with both of their coaches over the phone to get the lowdown ahead of tomorrow night.
The Helena High Bengals are ready to get back to work after a first-round bye. The Bengals will host the Bozeman Hawks in the second round of the playoffs. And for the Hawks, Kenneth Iden IV has proven to be a problem for opposing teams since his return from injury. And Bengals head coach Scott Evans said they know it'll be hard to stop a player like him, so their hope is to limit his productivity.
You're not going to stop him from making plays. He's in a situation where, number one, is he makes good plays no matter where he's at. So you have to limit the big plays that he makes. So that's our big thing is, you're not going to stop a great player like that. He makes plays all over the field, and we just want to make sure offensively we don't give him a chance to make touchdown plays.
The Bengals can also see Dexter Tedesco resume his role under center this Friday, as Caden Hewitt is currently trying to recover from an injury sustained in the Bengals' only loss of the year against Missoula Sentinel.
Hopefully get some more information by tomorrow morning. That's kind of how we've been working with it, just making sure he's at the top health. And so he'll get checked again tonight. And I'm hoping things go well. But like I said, more than anything else, is get him out of the area he was in before, because he had a pretty good concussion.
The Helena Capital Bruins are coming off of a road win against the Butte Bulldogs in the Class AA's first round and will head to Billings to take on the West Gold Bears. The Gold Bears are currently undefeated this season and will score points, averaging nearly 49 points per game this season. For Bruins head coach Kyle Mahelish, his key to the game tomorrow night is how well his offense will stack up against the West defense.
A big key to the game is going to be what our offense can do against their defense. I sound like a broken record every week, but we got to be able to move the ball. We got to be able to move the chains. We can't be 2nd and 20. We can't be 2nd and 15.
The Bengals will host the Hawks this Friday night at Vigilante Stadium. The Bruins on the road taking on the West Gold Bears in Billings. Both these games will kick off at 7 o'clock. Reporting in Helena, Sam Hoyle, MTN Sports.
All right, and we'll wrap things up here on the News at 6 when we come back.
Montana's news leader. You're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the News at 6. Well, the pandemic has not done any favors for the travel industry. Thai Airways hopes a higher power can help them bring back tourism. The airline announced a flight over some of Thailand's holiest Buddhist religious sites. Passengers will recite mantras along the way. Now, this religious flight to nowhere, as it's being called, will last 3 hours and will cover nearly 100 sacred sites in Thailand. Thai Airways said the flight is intended to fall under the government's plan to boost domestic tourism in the country. All right, and that does it for the News at 6. We'll be back at 10 with the latest in the election and the counting, plus your latest local headlines and a look at that snowstorm headed our way. See you tonight at 10.